Alright guys, here with another video. This is another beat at 160 BPM. So this is going to be more of like a Pierre born, maybe Playboy Cardi type beat. It's definitely a more vibey beat, more wavy beat, you know. So one thing I want to explain before we listen to it is this is the MIDI for the melody, but since I originally created this beat on my other computer, which has a plugin that this computer doesn't have, right? So I made this melody using a different plugin, right? And uh, installing the plugin's like a whole mess. That's why I don't have it on this computer. It can be a little frustrating. So I just converted this melody into an audio file, which we're going to go over in this video how to do that. And uh, yeah, so this is the melody right here. This is the MIDI version of it. This is the actual melody. So no sound's going to play from here because there's no sound on the track. It's just MIDI. You see this is the VST right here. It's disabled because it's not on this computer. Yeah, so this is where the melody sound will be coming from, this audio file. But this is the MIDI, so we can still take a look at how I made the melody. Alright, take a listen real quick. Yeah, so it's a pretty good beat. Let's jump right into it. This is the melody. I'm just going to drag this up here so we can look at the audio right next to the melody. This is the MIDI for it. So yeah, this is a much more complicated chord progression. Really, uh, it takes a lot more time to make something as complicated as this, but yeah, so pretty much you got your bass root notes, boom, 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 and then this last measure has two separate chords. You can kind of see them there and there. Yeah, the most important part of a chord progression is going to be the root notes. Often when I'm running chord progressions, I kind of find a good progression of just the root notes first, and then I'll build the chords on top of that, and then you can kind of work out these melodies in the chords as well. One thing you'll also notice is that a lot of these notes are just octaves up. So if I put these down an octave, right, you see that these two notes up there are also playing lower down in the chord. That's just going to help your chord sound well. If you're trying to make your chord sound bigger, you can always try putting notes up an octave. That's the melody. Then we got the bass line, the 808s. So one thing you'll notice is this actually has the same pattern at the beginning here. These three notes, same pattern as the other beat I made in 160 BPM. It's again, I mentioned in that video, that's a very common pattern. It sounds really good, so I'll use it in a lot of beats at 160. And then I have a kick drum that just follows the bass line. It also has this little double kick right here. So this is like the one note that doesn't follow along with the bass. It's just to add an extra kick in there. It just sounds good. Gives the beat a bit more of a groove. Let me close all these. And then we got the hi-hats. Kind of repetitive, pretty simple. Nothing too complex there. I didn't want to do too much with the hi-hats on this beat because there's kind of already a lot of top end with the chords and like the higher up melody. So yeah, I kept that kind of simple. And then we just have, of course, the clap sound. So like most beats, I just got one in the middle of every measure, and then I got no clap on this measure, and this extra clap right here. So let's listen to this with the beat real quick. So you'll hear that this clap right here kind of fills in that spot where there's no hi-hats. Kind of works as more of a percussive sound than like a normal clap would. And then no clap here just kind of adds some room to the beat, makes some tension, or it really releases tension, but yeah. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is some cool arrangement things I did. So what I just did there is right click here, you can turn on show automation, and we have this right here, right? So this is where I turn on the compressor, right? And this compressor side chains. Now if you want to learn about side chaining, go back to my video that does like the Kanye type beat. It talks about side chaining. This compressor looks a little bit different, but it's the same thing. It's still Ableton compressor, right? So this is the threshold. So the line that I drag up and down in that video, that's this right here, this slider. Yeah. So if you listen to the beat, this section right here, you'll hear the side chaining. So yeah, it's side chained to the kick drum, which gives it that like rhythmic cutting out effect. I thought it just sounded cool. It sounds real nice. And then we have this transition right here, which is it just duplicates. So I just took this section right here. Sorry, hold on. Took this section right here, just duplicated it, except I took the whole section. So I went all the way down there and then duplicated it and then duplicated it. So it copied all this, the melody, the bass and the drums, and it duplicated it over all these sections. And then there's a double duplication right here, and it just gives it that kind of bounce effect. You'll hear it in like a lot of like, I don't know, like NLE Choppa beats and stuff. But I thought it worked pretty well here. I also added a few extra drums in there just to help it out, and it transitions into the same melody or the same chords but without the melody. So you see I took out all these top notes for this section, right? So yeah, that's the beat. Last thing I want to go over is how to convert MIDI into audio. Okay, so converting MIDI into audio. Let's do it with um, let's do it. I'm gonna duplicate the 808s, right, the bass line, and we're gonna turn the bass line into audio. So there's two ways to go about this. All right. First way is to hit freeze track, right? So you right click on the track, hit freeze track. Now, so when you freeze a track, you can adjust like volume still and some automations, but you can't edit like the MIDI anymore. All right. It helps with your computer processing because pretty much what this means is your computer no longer reads the MIDI as it plays. It already has the MIDI saved, so it uses less processor power. Alright, and then converting to audio will save even more processor power. So what you're going to do is you could unfreeze the track here, but we're going to flatten the track. Click this little flatten, this little button that says flatten the track, and then that converts it to audio. So now we have an audio file of the bass. That's it for this video, y'all. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.